Good evening. There are more reports tonight of GTA travelers falling violently ill after staying at a Mexican resort.
Tonight, some allege the resort tried to get them to sign non-disclosure agreements in exchange for medical care. CTV John Woodward has been speaking to those involved and joins us live with more. And John, you've had several people come forward since your reporting on this last night.
Yeah, yesterday we reported just a few dozen people affected. Now we can say it looked like the numbers are in the hundreds of Canadians stricken ill coming back from a Cancun vacation, some of them getting sick as they return to Canada. Several fire trucks and ambulances lined up at Pearson Airport's Terminal 3 Thursday night called for 7 patients sick on a WestJet flight back from Cancun. No one went to hospital that night, but it may not be the only case.
You're cramping, throwing up, your eyeballs feel like they're ripping out of your head. It's the worst feeling. I mean, I'll be honest with you, we've had COVID. This was worse than COVID for us.
Neil Matheson was on a flight back from Cancun the day before. He says he passed out on the WestJet flight home, his 19-month-old son now undergoing tests.
For me, I'm an adult. We could handle with kids and stuff. You messing with my kids, I don't like that stuff.
He and his family stayed at the Royalton Splash Riviera, a common thread among many vacationers who reached out to CTV News after our first story about many people in that hotel getting sick with norovirus or E. coli, several so serious they were hospitalized.
This is a terrifying experience.
Christina Wishlow's family went in December. She says they got sick too, and in a dispute with the hotel following that, she was presented with a contract that says she shall not directly or indirectly disclose the incident or any other perceived negative experience relating to the incident to anyone in any way, saying it is the intention of the parties to avoid and prevent publicity. The payment, 20,000 Marriott Bonvoy points, or about 200 Canadian dollars.
Clearly, they're not trying to fix the problem. They're just trying to hide it.
Matheson said he was presented with a similar contract in exchange for a free doctor's visit that would have otherwise cost them $900. He didn't sign it.
We're humans. We have kids, families, and lives. And, you're trying to silence what's going on here.
No Canadian court would uphold a contract like that, says this tourism professor.
You need a doctor. Sign this NDA before you can go to the doctor. That's never going to be enforceable.
No one from WestJet, Royalton Splash Cancun, or the Marriott hotel chain returned our emails, but hotel guests say they'll talk about what happened, contract or not. We did check in with Peel Public Health, who says there's no risk to the broader Canadian public about this, and they're saying that travelers should try and employ measures like hygiene, washing your hands, and avoiding contaminated food or water if you can. And the most serious tests that have come back for the travelers that we've talked to have been E. coli, which is often spread through food and water. Reporting live, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Next is some major developments south of the border. For more than a year now, the Trump administration has used tariffs as a tool against Canada and the world to raise revenue.
But in a closely watched ruling this morning, the U.S. Supreme Court said Trump was overstepping his authority by putting some of those trade barriers in place. CTV's Abigail Beeman is following the story.
I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed.
The American president says he's deeply disappointed in the U.S. Supreme Court decision striking down so-called IEEPA or fentanyl tariffs. He then, as many predicted, announced new ones.
Today I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country.
President Trump has famously said his favorite word is tariff. And so I don't think they're going to simply walk away.
IEEPA tariffs collected an estimated $240 billion. The Supreme Court decision did not address refunds, while one dissenting opinion noted handling them would be a mess.
Unraveling that and securing refunds is going to be messy, but that's certainly going to be a key issue that Canadian businesses are going to be focused on.
While steel and aluminum, automotive and lumber tariffs remain in place. Yet the vast majority of Canadian goods were exempt from IEEPA tariffs anyway due to CUSMA, the free trade deal that's up for review.
With these midterms, with a shifting political climate in the United States, with the inability of Congress to just follow him at a command, all of those things add up to a situation where I think it is more likely that he's actually going to engage on CUSMA than attempt to burn it to the ground.
The lead minister on the Canada-U.S. file said in a statement the court decision reinforces Canada's position that IEEPA tariffs are unjustified, but, quote, critical work lies ahead to fight for businesses still impacted by tariffs on steel, aluminum, and autos. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Premier Doug Ford offered his thoughts on the decision, posting today's U.S. Supreme Court decision is another important victory in the fight against President Trump's tariffs, but the battle isn't over yet. I won't stop fighting until every last tariff against Canada is dropped so we can grow our economies and create jobs on both sides of the border. Later in the newscast, we'll have more Canadian reaction to today's Supreme Court decision from some of the industries that have been hit hard by U.S. tariffs.
And we have more news in a moment, but first a look at the forecast. There's a live shot of the city. Looks like the wet weather is continuing tonight. And with that, of course, there are concerns, especially with pooling and wet roads. Lindsay Morrison has a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, in addition to the falling rain, we've had melting snow out there, so there's a lot more water. And now we are adding some flurries into the mix. Some light snow happening around Stouffville, the north end of Durham region, and pushing into the west end of the GTA. We're seeing a changeover from some showers to some flurries in places like Hamilton, Burlington, even Oakville. There's the heavy snow that's falling east of Georgian Bay and into the Ottawa Valley. We've also got some snow back toward London, Ontario as well. Temperature-wise, we are at +2 degrees, so it's been another mild day, and boy, we had lots of rain earlier today. Gusty winds out of the southwest, a couple of weather advisories remaining in place, and there's your night at a glance. We're going to take you through the weekend forecast coming up. For now, though, Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. It was one of the most popular summer festivals in the city, and according to organizer, it will return this summer.
Taste of the Danforth drew hundreds of thousands of people to Greektown each August, and local businesses hope the crowds will return when the festival does. CTV's Janice Golding is live on Danforth tonight with the latest. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, a Toronto staple is making a comeback. The Taste of the Danforth is going to be coming back to the city this year after taking a hiatus 5 of the last 6 years.
They see the white and the blue, and they feel like they are in Greece.
Simon Leptokaridis has owned Greek restaurants for 30 years.
I felt many times like the unofficial ambassador of Greek food.
And 10 months ago, he opened Salonika, his first restaurant on the Danforth, a restaurant he hopes to introduce to Torontonians this summer at the Taste of the Danforth.
Because it promotes Greek culture, Greek food, and that's why we are here.
Toronto's largest and oldest food festival has only been held once since the COVID-19 pandemic due to gathering restrictions and funding issues, but
we couldn't be more excited that Tony and the Greektown businesses are planning to bring back Taste of Danforth.
No more rumblings. Taste of the Danforth is back for 2026. It'll be here August 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Tony Pathakis, chair of the Greektown on the Danforth BIA, had begun talking to the province about funding earlier this year.
I miss the Taste of the Danforth, so I will commit.
And earlier this week, Premier Doug Ford announced the province would step up if the city did likewise. And today,
we've had support from all levels of government, which always helps, but it's mostly the neighborhood itself wants it back. It's a part of who we are, part of our fabric, our history.
The news very welcome among Danforth area patrons.
I'm thrilled. The only reason that I know about all these restaurants is because I've gone to the Taste of the Danforth.
It's nice to see all the restaurants getting people again, but yeah, I'm pretty happy.
We really miss it, so we hope it's coming back this year.
The festival, which was first held in 1993 and draws upward of 1 million people each year, can be a boon to local businesses.
Anecdotally, we know that the previous days, some of these restaurants paid for their rent to be here for months and months on end.
Simon Leptokaridis says he certainly hopes to gain some repeat customers.
1 million plus people coming in 3 days. And of course, these people that are going to come back.
A newcomer on the Danforth, excited about the return of an old tradition. Again, the Taste of the Danforth is expected to make its return between August the 7th and August the 9th. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Janice. Still to come tonight, going for gold. Canada's Olympic men's hockey team is in the gold medal game, but for the second game in a row, it was a tough fight. We'll have reaction from fans and a look ahead to Sunday's game. But first, an elderly woman has died following a house fire in Newmarket. Crews were called to the scene on Kirby Crescent near Bathurst and Davis Drive shortly after 6:30 this morning. They found the woman in the home and rushed her to hospital, where she later died. 2 men suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The cause of the fire hasn't been determined, and the fire marshal's been called in to investigate. And on the roads, a 36-year-old man is dead following a crash on the 401. A pickup truck collided with the barrier which separates the express and collector lanes on the eastbound 401 around 6 this morning. The eastbound 401 express lanes were closed for several hours at Winston Churchill for the investigation.
The search is on for a suspect in connection with a hit and run in Markham. This happened at Denison and Featherstone Avenue. York Regional Police say a 19-year-old woman was crossing the street when she was struck. Police say she was carried on the windshield of the car for several meters. She is now listed in stable but critical condition with life-altering injuries.
When we arrived on scene, we located various items belonging to our victim strewn across Denison Street to about Cuba Way, which is 50 meters down the way, and the victim in the roadway. A video canvas of the area at the time showed that the victim had just left a vehicle or a bus at this intersection and was making her way northbound across the intersection towards Denison, when this vehicle that was waiting to turn left had gone through the light with the traffic light and struck her while she was in the crosswalk with the right-of-way.
The driver fled the scene in a blue Honda Civic. The vehicle will have obvious windshield damage. Anyone with information is asked to contact police.
Cross-examination continued today for one of the complainants in the sexual assault trial of billionaire businessman Frank Stronach. A defense lawyer for Stronach accused the woman of lying about what she remembers from the evening of a sexual encounter with him in the 1980s. Leora Shemesh alleged the complainant, who's the fourth to testify, is falsely claiming to have memory gaps because she's embarrassed. The woman rejected the suggestion. Also today, the judge said the Crown prosecutor should reflect on why she didn't intervene when the woman lied on the stand about pretrial conversations they had. The 93-year-old billionaire has pleaded not guilty to 12 charges linked to 7 complainants.
A judge has denied bail for an alleged money launderer linked to former Canadian Olympian Ryan Wedding. 37-year-old Roland Sokolovsky was denied bail in a Toronto courtroom as he fights extradition to the United States. Prosecutors say he helped funnel hundreds of millions in assets across borders for an international drug smuggling ring allegedly run by Wedding. The court found keeping him behind bars was necessary, citing concerns he could flee if released.
Toronto police are urging the public to stay off the ice along the city's waterfront.
Going out onto the ice, there's no plan. There's no safety equipment. These people aren't wearing life jackets. Normally, when we do our ice rescue training, when we go through, we send the officers out that are training for the first time, going through to trust our equipment. We're wearing survival dry suits, life jackets. So when we go through, we're buoyant when we hit the water. If you don't have that stuff on, usually you go through fast. And sometimes with the flow in this harbor, and that's what the danger is in this specific water behind me, there's always flows. You can just not even catch a piece of ice, and you can go straight down to the bottom and underneath the ice and gone.
Police say they've received roughly 10 calls a day about people walking on the ice, including people with children and strollers. Police say 3 people have gone through the ice in the past couple of weeks, all of whom were rescued. Officials say if you see a person or animal that's fallen through the ice, you should use items that allow you to reach them without walking onto the ice.
There are a few subway service changes to keep in mind as we head into the weekend. Track work on Line 2 means service will end at 11:49 tonight between St. George and Keele stations. Shuttle buses will operate, but they won't be running during a single-day closure on Line 1 tomorrow. Station maintenance will be taking place between St. George and St. Andrew. Riders will be able to take the other side of the Line 1 on surface routes rather. Then on Sunday, Line 4 service will be replaced by shuttle buses for planned signal work.
As the Milano Cortina Olympics enter their final stretch, Team Canada claimed 2 more medals today. Canadian speed skaters Valerie Malte won the bronze in the women's 1,500-meter long track final. It's her 3rd at these Winter Games after another bronze in the 3,000 and a gold in the team pursuit. She's got one more shot at the podium in tomorrow's mass start event. Then Canada's Brendan McKay was able to pull into third place on his final run in the men's free ski halfpipe, giving him a bronze in the event.
Fans across the GTA came together to watch the men's hockey semifinal match between Finland and Canada.
CTV's Beth McDonnell was at Cafe Diplomatico in Little Italy for the game-winning action.
Over bacon and eggs, fans gathered with friends and family to watch the Canadian men's hockey team battle it out for a spot in the final gold medal game. But not everyone was ready for Finland to put up such a fight.
It was scary. I think it felt like they were barely playing and maybe missing Sydney.
Canada's captain Sidney Crosby was out of the game due to an injury, and until the middle of the second period, the Finns dominated the Canadians 2-0 before Team Canada managed to get on the board, bringing a little relief.
They're doing it. They're pouring it on. They have no choice, and we got the players. So I know it's 2-1, but we can do it.
Well, after the women lost yesterday, I don't know how much more I can take. We got to win.
Then in the third period, there was magic. Canada tied the game 2-2 before Nathan McKinnon scored with just over 30 seconds left on the clock, putting Canada in the lead 3-2.
Unreal. I hope we can hang on here. 30 seconds left. We'll see how it goes.
And with barely any time left, the big win became reality, making fans proud.
It was tense. It was very exciting, though. It's a good game.
Go, Canada, go. Gold all the way.
Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
And as people from coast to coast to coast prepare to cheer on Team Canada, Premier Doug Ford says bars and restaurants across the province will be permitted to start serving alcohol at 6 a.m. on Sunday. Some municipalities like Toronto and Hamilton have already changed their local rules to permit those earlier sales.
As supporters of Alberta separatism try to get that question on a future ballot, Premier Danielle Smith has announced a referendum on a number of other hot-button issues.
I want you to know how confident I am in the judgment of Albertans on these and other delicate issues. Although there are some politicians and commentators that fear direct democracy, such as referendums, I do not. I trust the judgment of Albertans.
9 questions will be asked in the planned referendum, including whether to cut off newcomers from social services if they don't fall under Alberta-approved immigration status. The question doesn't define what that term means. Others ask whether Alberta should open negotiations with the rest of Canada to abolish the Senate and to give provinces the power to appoint Superior Court judges. Alberta's opposition NDP say Premier Smith is using immigration as a political distraction ahead of delivering a budget with a multi-billion-dollar deficit.
We have direct democracy, and it's called a general election. Call it. Let Albertans judge her performance in the last 6 years under the UCP. It's all a massive distraction from the real things Albertans expect their government to deliver.
Smith blamed the projected budget deficits on falling oil prices and what she called out-of-control immigration. She says Alberta's population has grown by nearly 600,000 people in 5 years, putting pressure on schools, hospitals, and other public services.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says the final flights operated by Canadian Airlines have left Cuba. In a post on X, Anand says the last Canadian flight actually departed on Wednesday. She expressed her thanks to airline workers, saying they helped bring home nearly 28,000 travelers who'd been in Cuba. The country's faced increasing shortages of basic goods amid a U.S.-imposed oil blockade. That's included jet fuel, prompting airlines to cancel flights to Cuba as of last week. Global Affairs Canada is advising travelers to take advantage of non-Canadian commercial options leaving the country while they're still available.
Police in the UK are continuing to search the former home of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor a day after the former prince's arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Police are still searching Royal Lodge, Andrew's 30-room former home in Parkland near Windsor Castle. The king's younger brother had lived there for decades until he was evicted earlier this month. The former prince had already been stripped of his titles and honors. Experts say the royal family is focused on damage control.
We've got the royal family out on manoeuvres. They were out yesterday. The Queen had an engagement.
Princess Anne had an engagement at a prison. I'm sure the irony is not lost on everybody about that, visiting a prison while her brother was under arrest. You saw King Charles III at Fashion Week yesterday. More senior royals will be out on engagements today. They are firmly sticking with the keep calm and carry on mantra. The King said as much in his statement yesterday, that they wanted to carry on doing the good work and doing their acts of service, and that's how they are getting on with things.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested yesterday on his 66th birthday and remains under investigation on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He was questioned in relation to private information allegedly shared with Jeffrey Epstein while he served as a trade envoy for the UK.
U.S. President Donald Trump was asked if he had a message for the people of Iran today as he pushes the country's leaders to make a deal on its nuclear program.
They better negotiate a fair deal.
Trump said he was considering a limited military strike to pressure Tehran into a nuclear agreement. The president said yesterday he was giving Iran 10 to 15 days before deciding on potential military action. Both Tehran and Washington have signaled they are prepared for war if talks on Iran's nuclear program fall apart. Iran held military drills with Russia on Thursday. The drills come as a second American aircraft carrier is heading towards the Middle East. Well, is there life on other galaxies? U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered the Pentagon and other government agencies to release files related to UFOs and alien life.
It comes after former U.S. President Barack Obama weighed in on the subject of aliens. Here's CTV's John Vennavalley-Rao.
My gosh. American Navy pilots have spotted them. Strange objects flying in unusual ways. But now the U.S. president vowing to release whatever his government knows about UFOs and aliens. But is Donald Trump a believer?
I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it.
Trump directing America's Department of War and other agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life. That includes UFOs, which these days are called unidentified aerial phenomena.
A lot of UFO fans are really excited that this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. This is Christmas. We're going to be getting all the files.
There's some. It all comes after former U.S. President Barack Obama appeared on a podcast and offered a surprising answer to this question.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51.
His statement that they're real led to so much buzz online, Obama later clarified, writing, "Statistically, the universe is so vast that the odds are good there's life out there," adding, "I saw no evidence during my presidency that extraterrestrials have made contact with us, really." Still, Trump accused Obama of revealing classified information. In 2024, the U.S. Pentagon said there was no evidence alien life had ever been encountered, but added there were sightings that needed further investigation. Still, of Trump's latest directive, some think he's just using it to deflect attention.
Some people had said already that this was going to be a distraction from some other files that he doesn't want to release. So maybe we'll get something, but I'm not holding my breath quite yet.
Meanwhile, Trump did not set any kind of a deadline for the release of information. John Vennavalley-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
And speaking of space, NASA's March 6th target to send astronauts back around the moon, including a Canadian, is go for launch. The space agency confirmed the date after a successful wet dress rehearsal, an important test where the rocket is filled with fuel and goes through a practice run of the countdown sequence. Canadian Jeremy Hansen, along with 3 American astronauts, will embark on the 10-day journey designed to clear the way for a future moon landing.
Coming up, brewing up plans to help keep Ontarians safe. Labatt becomes the first private sector company to partner with the province to donate supplies and resources in case of an emergency.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up, it's Feedback Friday. More viewers say they also signed expensive contracts for skin therapy lights. More people lose money to private lending, and more pet owners say their pet insurance premiums went up hundreds of dollars a month. Feedback Friday is just ahead.
Well, the first part of your weekend looks mild, certainly. 4 degrees is what we're forecasting for a high for Saturday. Sunday, +1. Both days we have the opportunity for perhaps some wet flurries, maybe a couple of slushy centimeters accumulating. This may be a little overdone, as a lot of the snow that falls this weekend will melt on contact. But prepare for just a little more of this, and we'll take you through the 7-day forecast, give you an idea of what's in store for next week coming up.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
We had lots of reaction to our stories on rising pet insurance costs and people getting locked out of their Facebook and Instagram accounts.
More viewers also tell us they've lost money trying to use private lending and purchasing expensive skincare devices. Here's Pat Foran in Feedback Friday. Pat.
That's right, Nathan and Michelle, thank you. A college student was devastated to be locked in a $14,000 contract to buy a skin therapy light. With our help, she got her money back, but we heard from a dozen other viewers who say the same thing happened to them. Meredith was walking through a mall when she was offered free skincare samples. After she had a skincare analysis, she was convinced to buy a therapy light for $14,000. It was only after she got home that she realized what she'd done.
I feel scared because I don't have that money.
Laureen told us, I also got pressured into buying one of these red lights for $10,000. I can't afford the payments, and they refused to take it back. Deanna Johnson found out about private lending through social media. She took out a line of credit for $150,000 and found a company to loan out the funds. At first, she received monthly interest payments, but then they stopped, and she's worried her money is gone for good.
I would like my money back, my $150,000.
Nick wrote, I invested $60,000 in a commercial loan, and the firm refused to return my investment or interest. I'm afraid my money is gone.
Is Rosie a good dog?
Oh, she's the best.
Elaine Sitter has had Rosie for the past 11 years. She always had pet insurance and felt the monthly premiums were manageable. But they rose to $286 a month, then jumped to $470, and this year she was told the premiums would be $866 each month.
I just can't justify that kind of money.
Tracy told us, my pet insurance started at $35 a month and kept going up. It was $400, but when it was hiked to $800, we left. These price hikes shouldn't be allowed.
It's something I rely on so much.
Jennifer Gaskell has a travel business and uses Instagram to connect with clients, but last summer her account was suspended, and despite trying for months to get it restored, she's had no success.
There's been really nothing but silence from Meta on this.
Albert wrote, I've been locked out of Facebook and Instagram for the past year. Meta support to have my accounts reinstated has been zero help. And we heard from other viewers who say they have been able to get back into their Facebook or Instagram accounts, but others have not. A big frustration is that there is no person to speak with. A lot of it is AI, and it's all online. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Definitely unsettled today. We had a whole bunch of rain to start the day, some winds, umbrellas were flying, and then, periods of snow on tap tonight. Happy Friday.
Yeah, quite a bit to deal with. At least we can say it was above seasonal.
It was above freezing. So while that's factoring into the fact that we're getting these different types of precipitation, we'll see a lot more of this as we make our way into the spring season. Today it was mostly rain. Now we're seeing a change over to snow in parts of the GTA, but in other parts of Ontario, it's been yet another snowy day. And if the temperature was just maybe 2 degrees colder today, this would have been another big snowstorm early this morning. So perhaps we can take comfort in knowing that that did not happen. But this is happening. There's a lot of snow melt in addition to the rain that fell today. So a lot of extra runoff. The ground is frozen, so this water isn't seeping into the ground. It's finding its ways to rivers, streams, and they are running fast as a result. So these should be considered dangerous this weekend. Any waterway, any type of ice. We've been talking about that too. And you especially want to keep pets and children away from river banks. They can be quite slippery and icy in conditions like this. And with further melting expected, temperatures above freezing freezing again this weekend. We also expect to see some chunks of ice start to flow down those rivers, and that can lead to some ice jams and some localized flooding. Gone now is the special weather statement warning of the winds in through Niagara. We still have this one for eastern Ontario. This is where the bulk of the heavy snow has been today, Bancroft eastward toward Ottawa. But we've got a little bit of snow now creeping its way into the west end of the GTA, north toward Barrie as well. This system isn't widespread. It's not going to bring heavy amounts of snow. It will be somewhat disorganized as it continues to impact us through the weekend. So at this point, you want to plan on scattered flurries for both your Saturday and your Sunday. Might see a few showers mixing in too. This is what 8 a.m. looks like on Saturday. And by the time we reach 6 p.m., again, very broken up. Some light snow continuing into the evening hours. And then Sunday, similar situation. Look how scattered this is. Plan on there being a couple of wet, slushy centimeters of snow. Again, I do think this is being a little overdone. So by about this time tomorrow, again, maybe 2 to 4 centimeters of slushy snow. And it's possible that some areas will see additional wet snow into Sunday, as mentioned, but it shouldn't be too much. You might need to shovel your walkway by the time the weekend is finished. We've got still some gusty winds out of the southwest today. Gone is the easterly wind, and all these winds are going to settle down as we make our way into the day tomorrow. So that will be a nice change too. It's still 2 degrees at Pearson Airport. It feels more like -3 out there, so dress accordingly if you have Friday evening plans. We're going to hold pretty steady near +1 for the overnight low tonight. And then +4 is our forecast daytime high for your Saturday afternoon. A few showers could mix in with those flurries that we've been talking about. Just about everyone in southwest Ontario, a little cooler tomorrow compared to today. It was pretty mild today. I also just want to mention that some communities briefly had some embedded thunderstorms today too, with that round of rain that moved through this morning and midday. So that too is a sign of spring. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. It'll be chilly to start off next week, but at least we get into some sunshine by Tuesday. That's the weather for now. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, he was known as Dr. McSteamy. Grey's Anatomy star Eric Dane has died at 53 after a battle with ALS. It's been more than a year since the Ford government launched a new effort aimed at getting Ontarians involved in the response to emergency situations.
It's called Ontario Core, and now Labatt has become the first private sector company to sign on. Emergency Preparedness and Response Minister Jill Dunlop stopped by the brewery in London today to formalize the arrangement. She says it could see Labatt offer up use of their facilities, trucks, drivers, cardboard boxes, as well as pallets and refrigeration facilities when the province is in need of those during a crisis.
Having individuals volunteer is amazing. We want to continue to build that out and help train people. But when you look at private companies and associations who want to sign on and want to help out, they have those assets that are available to our needs.
John Kinder Labatt, our founder, started this tradition of giving back to the community in London when there was a famine in the late 1800s and gave 1,000 pounds of flour. So we've continued that tradition.
Since 2012, Labatt has donated more than 1 million cans of water to disaster relief efforts. They also produce hand sanitizer for food banks and frontline workers during the pandemic.
Canada has a new top doctor. Dr. Joss Reimer replaces Dr. Theresa Tam as Canada's chief public health officer. Dr. Tam became a household name across the country during the COVID-19 pandemic and retired in June. Reimer was chief medical officer for the Winnipeg Health Authority and was also a former president of the Canadian Medical Association. She'll step into the role in April.
Family, friends, fans, and colleagues are mourning the death of screen star Eric Dane at the age of 53.
I didn't come to Seattle to be chief. I came to Seattle for you, okay? I came to Seattle to get you back.
Dane was best known for his breakout role of Dr. Mark Sloan, also known as McSteamy on Grey's Anatomy. He also had roles on Euphoria and several hit films. Last spring, Dane revealed he had been diagnosed with ALS. The actor's publicist says he died yesterday and spent his final days surrounded by dear friends, his devoted wife, and his two beautiful daughters. And among those paying tribute to Eric Dane, Shonda Rhimes, on behalf of Shondaland, the company behind Grey's Anatomy, she wrote, we're grateful for the artistry, spirit, friendship, and humanity he shared with us for so many years. Our hearts are with his family, loved ones, and all who were touched by his work. It's expected to be a close battle for #1 at the weekend box office.
Heathcliff is gone. You must accept it.
Deadline reports that last week's winner, Wuthering Heights, is on track to bring in around $14 million US across North America, but it could end up behind Sony Animation's Goat, which is forecast to bring in a similar figure. Faith-based sequel I Can Only Imagine 2 is expected to bring in $8 to $10 million in ticket sales. Coming up, you might call it a tax break. Why Canada Revenue says filing your tax returns should be much easier this year.
Stocks rose and bonds held losses as markets reacted to the Supreme Court striking down Donald Trump's global tariffs. B&M Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya has more.
Investors are now trying to figure out the outcome this back and forth will have on U.S. trade policy. The S&P 500 rose after Donald Trump pledged to defend his tariff program, but uncertainties on any potential budget shortfalls kept a lid on the U.S. dollar and treasuries. Donald Trump is saying today he doesn't have a clear answer on whether he will need to reimburse companies for taxes paid. Refunds could total as much as $170 billion. Canadian retail sales saw a drop in December, but are on track to rebound to start the year. In a flash estimate, sales in January are expected to increase 1.5%. StatsCan says despite U.S. tariffs, people continue to shop in 2025, with sales up 4% compared to the previous year. Eldorado Gold is one of the biggest laggers on the TSX today. The company is warning that production will be lower due to the delay of a key mine startup in Greece. The delay will result in an additional $50 million in costs. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar closed a cent higher, finishing at 73.08. West Texas Intermediate dropped to 66.39. Western Canadian Select was up to 51.09, and the TSX closed higher once again, ending the day at 33,817. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Live Nation Entertainment beat quarterly revenue estimates in results released this week, helped by sustained demand for concerts. The company, which owns Ticketmaster and several venues, says its concerts had a global attendance of 159 million fans in 2025, up from 151 million the year prior. Live Nation stocks were up slightly over 3% in trading today.
The Canada Revenue Agency says taxpayers should have an easier time filing their taxes this year. The agency revamped its operations thanks to a government-ordered service improvement plan focused on addressing call center delays. The CRA says it has streamlined its websites and hired more call center workers. The 2025 tax filing season begins on Monday and lasts for a little over 9 weeks, ending on April 30th for most taxpayers. Returning now to one of our top stories, today's ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court rejecting the Trump administration's justification for some of its tariffs.
Several hard-hit industries on this side of the border say they're not expecting much relief. CTV's Adrian Gobriel has those details.
Sitting idle, Canada's auto assembly industry knows full well the toll of President Donald Trump's trade tactics, as does the country's steel and aluminum sectors, railroaded by punishing tariffs. Today's Supreme Court ruling brings little reprieve.
Our members have been on the front lines of this trade war because they work in all the sectors that Trump is coming after: the auto sector, the steel sector, the aluminum sector, the lumber sector.
Sectoral tariffs remain in place for each of those Canadian industries under President Trump's so-called national security tariffs. Trump has multiple levers he can still pull to apply additional trade pressure north of the border.
We expect him to explore a whole range of other options. Those include introducing new legislation to give himself new presidential powers that both President Trump but future administrations would wield.
While bracing for a blunt response from the Trump administration, Unifor's president notes that U.S. trade policy isn't just hurting Canadian industry.
They're having an impact on U.S. workers and U.S. industry. The manufacturing footprint in the U.S. is actually declining.
Speaking at Harvard this week, the president of Canada's Auto Parts Manufacturers Association believes the door has been opened to fight the tariffs still hammering Canada's economy.
It's really important to see that the Supreme Court will rule against the president, even when he overreaches. I think that's an important victory for the rule of law.
Those we spoke with today say it's also important to remain focused on upcoming CUSMA negotiations. The consensus, the clearest path towards keeping Canada's economy afloat, a new free trade deal with our largest trading partner. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Summer is still months away, but Toronto residents can now browse the list of Camp TO programs for the upcoming season. The city runs summer camps for kids and youths ages 4 through 16 with activities ranging from sports, art, drama, and dance to computers, science, and nature exploration, and many others. Camp TO will run from June 29th through September 4th with more than 100,000 spaces offered at 170 locations across the city. And starting this year, attendees will receive a nutritious mid-morning snack each day. You can find a full list of available programs on the city's website. Registration starts March 24th for free and March 31st for all other locations.
While all eyes are on the men's hockey final in Milano Cortina this weekend, Italy's women's team also made waves at this year's Winter Games by making it to the playoffs.
As CTV's Garrett Berry reports, deep Canadian connections played a key part in that success.
Soaking up her Olympic moment at the Cauldron in Milan.
You know, walking in the streets, walking in the venues, everybody's just so proud when you're wearing the colors.
Montreal-born Kayla Tutino has a lot to be proud of.
You know, we're very proud to be Canadian, but we're also proud of our heritage. It's been a big part of my upbringing, so for me to give back in this way and represent my grandparents and my parents, it's really special.
Tutino plays for Italy as a dual Canadian-Italian citizen. She scored the country's second ever goal in women's ice hockey at the Olympics, which helped power the first ever win and first ever playoff qualification.
We wanted to show everyone, you know, what Italian hockey is all about, and we felt like we accomplished that.
To prepare, the team trained for weeks in Montreal, pretty close to home for Tutino and 4 other Canadian-born dual citizens. Among them, Kristen Guerriero, whose mother traveled to support her here in Milan.
I start crying just out of just sheer whatever for her, because yeah, she's always worked hard in every sport and everything she's ever done. So I'm like so proud of her. It's beyond belief.
The Canadian-born players will also compete with the Italian team at a Tier 2 World Championship in April, hoping to build on the new hockey momentum in Italy.
We went to visit her at the Duomo, and there was little children that wanted to take her picture with her. Today we were at the rink after to meet up with her, and some kids asked her to sign their flag. I was like, oh my gosh.
The Olympic ice surfaces will be torn up after the games are done, but politicians here in Milan have promised a new temporary structure starting in October to be followed by a permanent arena within 3 years. Garrett Berry, CTV News, Milan.
Just ahead, a garden like you've never seen. Chandeliers here, there, and everywhere. We'll pay a visit to the one-of-a-kind backyard.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Finally tonight, it may not be gardening season here, but on the West Coast, one woman is planting a garden that is turning heads.
Or at least getting people to look up. CTV's Adam Sawatsky explains.
You're going to come into my garden.
While other gardeners are welcoming flowers growing from the ground,
And it's a chandelier garden.
Joanna Young is appreciating what's perennially blossoming from above.
I just love chandeliers.
Joanna planted her first chandelier years ago during a home renovation.
I collect them all the time now.
Now that they are a casualty of so many other people's redecorating.
And then they'll sell them for cheap because they think, they're ugly.
Well, some may say they're out of style,
Once they're displayed out of doors,
But once they get into the garden, they're gorgeous.
there's no watering required, no weeding needed, and no matter the season, Joanna says, blooming's guaranteed.
Little ones and big ones and strange ones.
There's the one that a bear broke after wandering into their backyard, another one that a hummingbird raised her babies in, and these ones that require adjustments on the windiest of days.
Because the tree will come down and hit the bottom.
But the wind, Joanna says, is always welcome.
When the trees dance, all the chandeliers move.
And they make a music together that if the sun is shining just right,
See how the prisms all make little fairies?
seems to attract colorful creatures to dance along with them.
When my granddaughters were little, they used to chase the fairies.
And in this time, when so many of us choose to escape into our screens, Joanna has found that by getting out into her chandelier garden,
It's just like a real magical place to be.
you don't need to connect to electricity to illuminate your imagination. Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Souk.
We have to visit.
Do you think she likes that song Chandelier by Sia? I bet
She should. She should play that in the background.
I know. Well, it's not looking like any kind of garden outside. And it's getting a bit tricky depending on where you are on the roads.
Yeah, that looked lovely. I think we would all like to visit that chandelier garden. Looks like a completely different season compared to here. Depending on where you are in southern Ontario, you either have some rain showers outside your window. Maybe you have some snow. There is still this special weather statement in place for eastern Ontario, but it's gradually coming to an end. Here's a look at what's happening. You can probably make out the rotation of this low. And as these flurries swirl around, we might see them continue into the night tonight, into tomorrow morning. This is what we're waking up to. Again, a slushy couple of centimeters could accumulate through the day tomorrow, but our forecast daytime high is +4. So at least it's a mild day and 1 degree for your Sunday. Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Marcia McMillan tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a wonderful weekend.